Alright, my people, welcome to another good old review with YamatoCannon. Today, I'm thinking I'm gonna do OG versus H2k, the first game. I'm doing it live right now. I think they're playing the series. But I thought, I haven't done one of these in a long time, and I felt, there's been some crazy ass upsets lately, Vitality losing against Fnatic, And with that in mind, it makes this series even more interesting because will H2k perform up to the standards that you expect them to, or will they collapse just like Vitality did? With that in mind, I want to jump right into it. I don't want to waste any time. We can start off right here with the bans. I think Twisted Fate, it's a strange ban to me because usually, while Twisted Fate might come in as a counter pick, usually Twisted Fate is countered by almost everything in mid. The idea is that you want to transition pressure into mid and Twisted Fate is going to do work, but I can imagine that the thought process behind the ban is that they just didn't do well against it. But then again, it's kind of confused because Mythi is a support that is very good at transitioning pressure into mid. But let's not get stuck on that. Nidalee is banned. So Nidalee in 6.6 got nerfed, still super good champion, understandable ban. And Thresh coming in from the Ruside ban, also understandable. Vander, I think these are just some kind of bans that you picked out specifically to hurt the team, which is fine. On the other side we have Alistar, Sivir, Azir. Azir makes sense because it is one of the safer blind picks that you can do and kind of force the hand of the enemy onto a different pick. With that in mind, usually what appears when Azir is banned is Lissandra, but that is also something that you can take away on red side and then eventually flex. Let's move on. What was that sound, by the way? Okay, doesn't matter. We move on. I split this up 2x. So, pick a champ, dude. So as Lucian. So, this might be confusing, Lucian first pick, but I feel like the thought process is, what are the odds? Forgiven played a game of Kalista, right? He played a couple of games, but after the nerfs, do people feel that it's worth practicing Kalista? Sure, I think it's fine to have in your pocket when a lot of AD champions are gone, because like some of these AD carries that are in the champion pool right now are very, very useless. Like I'm thinking Caitlyn, you don't want to play Caitlyn. All you look for is the 2-item power spike, and Kalista still has a good 2-item power spike. I feel like AD carries that do not have a good 2-item power spike, like Caitlyn, Jinx, Tristana, they tend to be very, very weak. Lucian in that case, Essence Reaver plus Shiv and Rapid Fire Cannon, sick power spike, Civ the same. Anything that can use Essence Reaver really is really, really good at the 2-item power spike. Jhin also another exception that is very, very good with it. So the Lucian pick, yeah, I think it's good to test the water. So Forgiven is forced to show more of his champion pool. Like, does he play Jhin? Does he play Kalista at all? You need to kind of see his champion pool, and I think the Lucian first pick forces that. Because in other roles, like if you can think of the high priority picks, everything can be balanced out. There's top lane. You can pick Poppy. Sure, Poppy has been a high priority in the past series that we've seen in the LCS, but then again, there's Echo has entered the fray, Maokai has entered the fray, and then when you look at the jungle pool, it's the same thing over again, where there's Kindred, there's Graves, there's Elise, there's a bunch of good champions, Gragas. So to be honest, I like the Lucian first pick just to test the waters. Like, what does this Forgiven, what does he actually play? Will he show Jhin? Will he show Kalista? Or will he just go back to something that he has played in the past, like Caitlyn, which I think is vastly weaker than it used to be. So this is a brown pick. With the brown pick, it works here for me. I think it's pretty good. Very good lane with Lucian. I don't think there's any lane matchup in the game that can... right now with these bans, I don't think there's any lane matchup that is going to be good into Lucian Braum. So I understand the Braum pickup. Also the fact that the Thresh ban is there. I think Thresh is one of the better matchups into Braum. Sure, you can pick things like Bard, you can pick things like Janna, but these matchups can be punished. At some point, you know, when you AD carry bases and you got BF Sword versus BF Sword, unless you did damage to the enemy lane that has the Braum before the first base, you're not going to have a good time. Because eventually, let's say you're playing Bard, you didn't do damage to the Braum, he survived the lane phase without, like let's say he's 10 CS behind and you base on a BF Sword and all of a sudden the enemy has BF Sword as well. Let's just paint a scenario that happened. You have a long sword advantage, let's call it that, right? All of a sudden, if Bard gets hit by 1Q, the all-in is going to be there and Bard gets punished. So with that in mind, I think with Thresh out of the picture, I love the Braum pick. I think also stealing it away from the Lucian Braum thing you can get going on is also a good thing to do. And then we got the Echo. So the thing is, you know, Echo has seen a lot of bans, a lot of success in Korea on 6.6, the patch that we're playing on. But I think it's a bit overrated. You know, I think it's really good. I think it's up there with Poppy. I think it's up there with Maokai. But I do not like the idea of taking it this early. I think the big difference is that Echo is pretty good as a blind pick. I don't think it has that much trouble into Trundle like these other two picks that I just mentioned. But I still think picking Poppy into Echo is something that you will love doing, because regardless of Echo's strengths, you know, I think Echo's a great champion. I still think Poppy in 6.6 is very, very powerful. There's just this sense of consistency with what Poppy actually provides to the table, you know. You could say, oh, Echo, he just one-shot the enemy AD carry, you know. Sometimes Poppy does that too. Funnily enough, you know, Iceborne Gauntlet, Sunfire Cape, you know. But there's also, you know, the W needs to land. There's a lot of a workaround when it comes to Echo. And I feel like Poppy provides more consistency. That's why I just prefer the pick over that. And I feel like the lane matchup is pretty boring and still. And with that in mind, you know, they should both get out of lane phase just fine, get their Iceborne Gauntlets, get their Sunfire Capes. Sure, there's an advantage that Echo has magic damage and it doesn't really, like the Iceborne Gauntlet, the Sunfire Cape doesn't help against that, but still, I prefer Poppy, you know. But as a blind pick, I think you do better against the Trundle than the Poppy does. We move on. So the question is, before we move on from the draft, like, I didn't like the Echo, personally. But then again, there is nothing that really stands out that you should just pick out right here. If anything, there's Lissandra, because Rio has played it in the past, Power of Evil has played it in the past, and of course, if you ban Azir, I don't think there's a lot of good picks into Lissandra right here. Corki is still in the picture, does fine into Lissandra, but beyond that, I think Lissandra flex does pretty fine. But then again, you know, people call Lissandra a flex pick, but who the hell plays Lissandra top nowadays? You know, Lissandra, if it's picked, it's going to go mid. Lissandra does so shit into all these tanks because she has no consistent damage, you know. And with that in mind, you know, if Lissandra's being picked, you instantly know she's going mid. There's just no way people are going to play Lissandra top in the current meta. There's just no way. So then again, understandable. Let's just scratch out the fact that I suggested Lissandra earlier. Let's move on. OG, they need to blind pick mid, right? So there's a difference. On the red side, you know, you don't need to blind pick mid. But on blue side, they know already they need to blind pick mid. So that's fine, you know. Taking the Lissandra away already, Rhea has played it in the past, it makes sense. And also the fact here, Origin decided to go for the Kindred. I personally, I'm a big fan of Kindred. I think when Nidalee is out of the picture, I think Kindred is the jungle that has the most impact on the early game. And I think that is the aspect that is the most important for any jungler. Just have the most impact in the early game. I think that's the most important thing, simply because if Kindred, let's say you have standard lanes, Kindred's only weaknesses, one of her weaknesses is the fact that in lane swaps she's pretty weak. you have this RNG with the stacks that you get, of course, and sometimes you get the crabs on the other side of the map, and you have to jungle on the side of the map that you, of course, are pressuring. You know, it's always divided in a lane swap. So that's Kindred's weakness. But in the early game, she can duel any jungler in the game. And I think that's a massive strength when it comes to the jungle. And of course, we mentioned earlier the Lissandra blind pick. It just makes sense. With Azir out of the picture, Lissandra blind pick is completely fine. She has a lot of impact in the early game. She can push, and she cannot get horribly denied by any specific champion in the game right now. So, we move on. Ryu. I'm assuming they will pick jungle and AD carry here. I hope we get to see something new for Forgiven. You know, I want to see him play Jhin. I want to maybe see him bust out the nerfed Kalista, but he goes for the Corki. Okay. So the thing is, what I'm fearing here is, unless you've prepared an AD champion, you already got Echo. We can assume it's going top. I don't think it's too good mid right now. Echo's going top. Okay. You're kind of almost spelling out the fact that you're going to last pick AD, which I think is pretty good. I think last pick AD should be the case here. AD champions, you know, and when I say AD, I mean something AD for mid. You know, something like Varus, maybe a Zed. Zed is pretty bad against Lissandra, but I think Varus would be beautiful here with this composition. We move on. Also the Graves, you know, the Graves into the Kindred matchup. If Graves in this case gets the lane swap going, I think it would be beautiful. Perfect. But otherwise, I think Graves is at a small disadvantage where he needs to kind of hope that his teammates don't get fucked by the Kindred. But Graves can still farm up rather well, duel the Kindred rather well, but Kindred is heavily reliant on the fact that she needs to connect some ganks, and it's fairly easy to do that with champions like Lissandra and the Kindred together. It's very, very easy. We move on. So that's a Corki that can go mid, but I'm pretty sure, you know, Corki does fine into Lissandra, but then again, you know, if Forgiven wants to hide his champion pool up to this point, I think we could see an AD champion either mid or top. The only thing I don't want to see is AP champion picked last pick for mid. I don't think it makes a lot of sense here, especially with the Poppy rotation in the Bard. We talked about the Bard earlier into Braum. I think Braum, Lucian, Bard, I think this is primarily picked for the matchup, nothing else. Like Bard has a lot of impact overall in a game. Like he's just a decent support, but in this case, I feel like you pick it specifically for the matchup. Add a star, Thresh is gone. Usually I would prefer Thresh over Bard, but of course Thresh is banned, as I mentioned, and I think Bard is just picked it for the matchup. We got the Poppy. I love Poppy. 6.6 Poppy is the shit. Super good. We move on. So if you just take a look at this composition, you know, overall right now, it's OG have a very, very simple composition, a simple idea in mind. You know, you step up, you play the 1-3-1. Their early game is very, very strong. Eventually you put Lissandra on a side lane, you put Poppy on a side lane, and you just keep Bard ulting down mid. You pressure the map, and I like what I'm seeing so far. We move on. Sorry now, if you just take a look at the matchups, you know, Corki, if Corki is going bottom, Corki going mid here is a good thing, if that is the case. But I don't think there's any AD carries in the game that have synergy with Braum right now. You know, I'm thinking Caitlyn, Jhin, you know, and Forgiven playing Kalista, those don't seem very likely. Kassadin is something I would hate. They actually locked in Kassadin. Okay, so let me explain why I hate this. On this side, I was hoping Corki goes mid, because Corki does fine into Lissandra. I think it's a pretty decent matchup. But then again, the AD carry pool of Forgiven might be the problem here. With that in mind, Corki into Braum, Corki Braum into Lucian Bard, bad matchup. I think Lucian has a huge advantage. Kassadin Kassadin, the problem with Kassadin is he's such a slow bowler. He's so slow. I feel like he has a lot of good matchups, a lot of very, very good matchups. That's good into Azir, that's good into Lissandra even. But the problem is with Kassadin to be impactful in a game, he needs to reach level 16. He needs a bunch of items, and before that, he's not gonna have the same impact as Lissandra, even if he's equal to CS, which was a godsend in the past when you played Kassadin. So right now, I feel like Kassadin is just too slow for this meta. If we compare Kassadin to the other mid laners that are in the game, that a lot of people play, it's Azir, Corki, Lissandra. All these champions have one thing in common: they push, push, push. They have impact early game. Corki reaches Trinity Force, bam. Lissandra, TP, smacks you up. Azir, very different, but he has control over the mid lane very, very easy and very, very early in terms of pushing. So with that in mind, I'm very unhappy with the Kassadin. This game has to go on for a very, very long time if they want to have impact. If you want to kind of elevate the Kassadin's impact to the level of Lissandra, you need to reach level 16. I'm not a fan of this. The game is way faster than it used to be. We have the Echo Poppy matchup. I don't think it matters too much, but looking at the grand scheme of things, I feel like H2k want to delay this game big time. They want to slow this down. They want the Graves to farm up. They don't want Kindred to get ahead. They want to lane swap 100%. Get Corki to level 6, and then all of a sudden maybe they can do something in the matchup. Let's move on, alright? Also, the Echo Poppy matchup, boring. We don't need to watch this at all. I think it's very dangerous for Kassadin mid as well. Like if he decides to not run cleanse, like cleanse is super awkward on Kassadin, right? And that's also like a big negative when you play into Alessandra, is that she's going to be able to run TP no matter what. She's going to do it. It's just good for her. And you need to consider things like cleanse. Do I want TP, cleanse, TP is so much better later, but earlier on, cleanse is going to save you from a lot of deaths, especially if you're playing against the Sandra Kindred. So it's a tough choice, and overall, I'm very, very unhappy with the Kassadin pick. Something that we could talk about is as well, like we've seen one game where Fnatic played Kassadin and they had success, but that game was so slow. They had Blue Ezreal, and there were so many things that were just so slow, And against Origin, I felt like they had a decent pace in the quarterfinal of their game overall. So let's see if H2k actually want to lane swap or not. I kind of hope and assume that they know they should lane swap, because otherwise I feel like this game is going to end rather quickly. Their lane swaps as well have been very impressive in the past, but there's just so many things that are in favor of a lane swap when it comes to H2k. Corki, 6, power spike, bam. Kassadin, very slow champion, Graves, the same thing. He wants to farm up, he doesn't want to be forced to impact the map in such a way. So it seems like H2k is just going for a blind lane swap. Not too much information to be had. You got the standard river start. H2k. Okay. They do the wolf start. H2k is also invading. Origin are doing everything exactly mirrored. Oh, okay. Then we can relax a bit. Oh, this is pretty heavy though. This is a bunch of damage. But doesn't matter too much, like the Kindred's HP doesn't matter at all. Like, it doesn't matter at all. Doesn't make any difference, because there's going to be zero interaction. She has potions. Even though it might look fancy that Vander took him down to half HP, but it doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. It looked like Origin started hitting the bottom tower earlier. I think one of the advantages as well is H2k have a pretty decent sum of AoE. Like Echo Q is pretty good for clearing the creeps. You got Valkyrie, you got Phosphorus Bomb. It's pretty good. I like it. But so far, there is no difference. Everything should be super squeaky clean. Kindred was rather lucky as well and got the first stack of a passive on the bottom side, which is a good thing. We mentioned earlier that one of the weaknesses with Kindred is if she's in a lane swap situation, she kind of loses her strength in the early game. You know, everyone's talking about Kindred level 3 power spike, you know, bam, 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 shoot you 3 times and you're dead. And that's also like something that is bad for her in lane swap. But Kindred, with the new build everybody is running, she scales super, super hard as well with Devourer. I like Kindred a lot. So, I just noticed something on the minimap right here. So, this is very, very important. You know, in lane swaps, the small things matter a lot. The little things are super, super important. Let me just take a sip of my delicious beverage, right? The little things are important. With that in mind, you know, right here, if we take a look at the minimap, what is happening is Braum, he is screwing with this Poppy for a long time, you know. And in lane swaps, the main thing that matters is the speed of how you push. When Braum is screwing around with this Poppy right here, he is delaying her so much for the push up top side. With that in mind, you know, you see the difference here. Echo is just past his first tower. He's going to be hitting the bottom tower much earlier. The waves are completely equal, but the big advantage here is the fact that Echo is on the tower already, while Poppy is rather slow. Super, super good play. And the thing is, you know, it might seem very, very small, but the tempo difference is going to be massive. Massive. I think this is rather dangerous, by the way. I'm surprised by the fact that Sven decides to recall so early. I don't like this Rift Herald either. Because the turret was like half HP. Can Poppy even take it? Wait, I want to see the turret HP. I guess I could just go into the future and we will know anyway. The turret's a half HP and he's backing off. I think this is way too early. Because the bottom tower is not dead yet. He has some time to work with. And this Rift Herald, you know, if you're going to be so much behind on tempo, like, I don't even know if they're going to get to top tower. That's quite horrendous. Because the Rift Herald is not going to do any difference if you're so far behind on tempo. Right now, you know, the push is so much in favor of H2k. They don't even get the tower. Sven shouldn't have based. They should have taken the tower. They should have skipped the Rift Herald because I felt they were super behind on pressure because Poppy got cancelled a couple of times. Echo was there to hit the tower very early on. I think this is greedy, very greedy. So there's a tower advantage for H2k, which is a big deal, And you also have, like, the way the lane swaps work is also like the pressure you have continues on to the next tower. So the question is now if OG can actually make use of the Rift Herald, but already we have on the top side, because H2k had the tempo advantage, they're going to be hitting the tower earlier. If they hit the tower earlier, then the question is the Rift Herald going to matter at all? Kind of hoping. Oh, hold on. He died. Alright, but the question is then, is him dying worth it? Because Amazing got the Rift Herald. They're behind on the push. Rio's dead. Okay, fancy. Cool. But the Rift Herald is in mid. Question is then if you should just stay mid and hit the tower mid. I don't think they can get it. So, H2k were ahead on tempo. Echo got a bunch of creeps under the tower as well. That's something top laners hate, you know, when other top laners they're just going to continue. I'm just going to pause because I want to talk about this. Echo has been farming under the tower. This is something Kindred needs to punish. Very important. H2k were very, very ahead on the tempo. Rift Herald mattered. This gank in mid, I didn't like it. It might seem fancy because they killed Ryu, and it might impact the matchup in a positive way, but they are so far behind on tempo. And with that in mind, you know, maybe you can commit into the mid tower, because I feel like the mid tower, if you can make a efficient trade, you have 2 people on location already, 2 people hitting the tower, all of a sudden maybe the trade ends up better for you. But it felt like a massive waste of the Rift Herald. The question is now if Power of Evil can turn this advantage in mid lane into something beautiful, which is possible. Lissandra with the TP, if she can make use of this 10 CS advantage to something good in the future, okay, it was worth it. But for now, I didn't like it too much. Odoamna as well, he took a bunch of CS on bottom. You can see like the level disadvantage that Soaz is going to endure now. Level 4 into level 5. Small things matter, right? In these lane swaps, small things matter. 75%? Origin fans, huh? I guess Origin fans and Fnatic fans are almost the same people, but I'm thinking H2k is the favorite coming into this, but they picked Kassadin. Well, you know, who knows? Hold on. Why is my sound so weird? Okay. Alright, we're back. So we're talking about tempo. You know, this impacts the next tower, the next tower, the next tower. Right now we seem to be rather equal. Echo's up top, Bard is kinda late. H2k are on time on bottom. Graves just jungling, okay. Now it's rather awkward. It's very, very awkward, you know, that the top tower is still alive. I need to take a look at this again, because this is a very unique scenario. You know, this was a massive screw up that they didn't get the tower. I guess if they can defend this is a rather good trade from the position they're in, but the turrets have HP. The real question is if they can defend the bottom tower. I think this is a pretty decent scenario. But you'd much rather have Poppy topside than Lucian, but I don't think Poppy would be able to take the tower 1v1 because of the level disadvantage. Poppy also got the bot wave, so that equalizes the pressure from Odoamne. Okay. TP burned, big deal. Odoamne did a good job here. Good job. I like this play. Very, very consistent play. I don't think we needed to, because like looking at what just happened based off of that, you know, there's no TP, there's no summoners on Lucian. That's massive. The real question now is if OG can defend this tower, it's good. It was a decent trade overall, but they burned a lot of summoners. Tower is saved. Trade is good. Goal differential is pretty much is the same. H2k still, I think they need a lot of time to be able to make use of the composition rather well. Because really my true issue with this is the fact that they have Kassadin. He just needs such a long time to be useful. And on the enemy side, there's Lissandra, and it's very, very easy for Origin to just brute force, you know, just ram that fist so far down their mouth and just break their spine, you know. And so I'm kind of worried overall. But H2k, you know, looking at their composition, they have a pretty decent 1-3-1. You know, their 1-3-1 is rather good even. Corki in mid can fire rockets from afar. Graves can wave clear really, really well, but they need to respect. They need to respect it that they engage. Very, very, very important. They're already playing the 1-3-1. This is very, very beneficial for Kassadin. Okay. Okay, good. H2k on point. OG as well doing what they're supposed to do. Just keep trying to force these engages, because if the game goes on and on and on, all of a sudden Kassadin's gonna all over your face, right? Very important. So this is going to be like a game of cat and mouse, you know. You're going to see OG trying to engage, while H2k have a slight advantage in the 1-3-1. But OG right now are in a strong point of the game. They should just try to force engages over and over again. Echo seems to be doing very, very well into the Poppy so far. I haven't seen the matchup too much, but like from just thinking about it myself, I'm thinking they should be doing fine against each other. The only true advantage that Poppy has, or disadvantage Poppy has, is that you want to buy some Cape and Iceborne Gauntlet because these two items are completely broken, right? Speaking of broken, here's Kindred. Oh, he's dead. He should be dead, no? Okay. Okay, I want to back up. I want to back up and pause. So, when we're talking about Echo, you know, he has this advantage. One single advantage against Poppy is the fact that Iceborne Gold and Sapphire Cape, you itemize armor, heavy armor. And in this case, you know, if you're playing against Corki and Kassadin and Echo, you don't want to itemize heavy armor. So that's the only advantage I see Echo having in this matchup. Otherwise, I still think Poppy is in 6.6 the better champion. 6.7, Echo is broken because Poppy got, you know, killed. Not killed completely, still good champ. Okay. So there's a difficulty, you know, with the execution of all this. Is it's important that you recognize when your team is backing off, because right now, you know, Vander wants to refresh his ward inventory. Echo has no reason to be up topside. No reason. Absolutely no reason. Because Vander wants to be in base. Graves is farming away. They don't have any control of the mid wave. Because right now, you know, he needs to hide. If nobody's showing mid right now with the Corki in mid, then you know that there's a possibility Bard and Kindred might roam to the sides. And it's the way you want to play a 1-3-1 pretty much is you have the side lanes pressuring while you're getting pressured mid, and the moment the enemy team leaves mid, you get mid priority, and let's say they roam into top side to gank the Echo. So let's say in this case that we have the scenario right here. We have Bard, Kindred, Poppy rushing top side. Corki spots only Lucian in mid. So this should always trigger something in the minds of the side laners. They should be scared, they should respect the possibility of getting ganked. And with that in mind, Corki with Braum right here should get mid priority and should get vision. But the problem that they have run into is the fact that they do not have any wards, only have one ward on Graves, so they need to reset. Fine. But during the time that you reset, you need to respect the enemy team completely. You need to give up pressure, you need to let them take pressure. Especially in this case. If nobody is showing mid beside Lucian, you need to respect. You get the mid priority, you get vision, and all of a sudden with vision everything becomes easier. You know, get vision on one side, you have full control of the map, because if they're not showing there, they're going to be on the other side of the map, right? Very, very simple, but you need to respect these small windows where the enemy can punish you, and there needs to be like a fluency and rhythm with the way you play together with your team. In this case, Vander is basing, they get mid priority, I assume, because Corki should win, and Odoamne gets punished heavily because nobody's showing up mid. This minimap is telling us that nobody's showing up mid, they don't have vision on the map, they need to respect it extra much, you know? Sure, they gank top, Kassadin can push out bot completely, but then again, it just, you shouldn't die for these reasons if you're going to play a 1-3-1. Because if you're going to end up being weaker in your matchups, then you're going to have a bad time. Why did the quality just lower? The shit quality. No idea, man. Okay. We move on. Kassadin coming in. Alright. I don't think they should be forcing. I really dislike this. They should not be forcing against this team. Ooh. Oh. No. Let's take a look at this seriously, right? So, I've been discussing the fact that H2k should not be looking to force. You know, there's both teams are playing the same 1-3-1, but H2k need to play the patient game. Forcing fights for them is just not good. Is really, really not good. Poppy does more than Echo in a team fight. We've seen earlier in the game that Echo did fine in the split push against Poppy. He does fine. Kassadin should beat Lissandra in a 1v1 split push. They should get vision. They should play it patiently. But 5v5s. 5v5s, my goodness. Lissandra loves 5v5s. Poppy loves 5v5s. Kindred, very strong. Overall, with the composition you have with Kassadin, you just want to take it slow. You don't want to force fights. Definitely, you don't want to force fights. And Origin, on the other hand, they want to force fight. Maybe they just did a genius bait, because they want to force fights. And I felt like what H2k just did was a massive, it was like an early Christmas, early Christmas. Here you go. Yeah, we have a turret advantage, but all of a sudden we have a gold disadvantage. That's massive. Very, very big indeed. So we got this Poppy itemizing Sunfire Cape. You could question it, but in reality, Sunfire Cape is just broken. There's, you could say like, oh, they have no AD, they have only Graves. You shouldn't buy Sunfire. Sunfire Cape is broken. Just buy it every time. There's no argument against it. It's a broken item. It kills creeps faster than anything else in the game. It's like a lawnmower, but you're mowing creeps instead of grass. Absolutely broken. Okay. Wanda should be dead. So this is the time to get kind of worried, It's 1-3-1. Oof. Okay. Well, OG are definitely playing this correctly. Like, they don't have TPs. They're not hesitating. It's important that you recognize the moments where you want to apply pressure with Kassadin and Echo. You want to push out the side lanes, then group mid, but then you need to respect the pressure that might happen in mid. Very, very heavily. Gotta respect the mid engage. You just give up the mid wave. You're in a winning position if you have two pushing waves, but right now they are super far behind as well. So you gotta mention it, the fact that they are behind, so it's harder to play the composition, but you need to try to play to your composition strength at all times. It doesn't justify that you get caught in mid, ever. If Kassadin is on a side wave pushing, then you just need to calm down in mid and give up the mid wave. It's normal. It's just the beauty of Lissandra to me is you can play the 1-3-1 and it's so simple to execute. It's, for example, you have this Kassadin, it becomes so hard because it's so different. You want to play the patient game. You get very, very small windows of opportunity. When with Lissandra, you can just say, guys, it's 20 minutes into the game, guys. I'm just gonna base, get home guard, and just swish right into it, And simple team compositions have a massive edge. Is just the case. The execution is easier, and from OG's side, I think it's the correct way to draft. I think if the question that should be asked after a pick and ban is who's gonna have an easier time to win if overall, what are our windows of opportunity and what is the enemy's windows of opportunity. H2k on this hand is like the level 16 Kassadin is their window of opportunity, but OG is gonna have plenty of them with the engages, with the Bardults, with the Lissandra. It's already now. This is looking grim. H2k need to pray for late game and maybe go next already. Pray for late. And OG, despite their criticism throughout the split, I think they've been very, very solid at finishing games. I think the one weakness they had throughout the split was the fact that they just fucked up a lot in early game. Oh, do I'm there. Oh, what was this flash? Wow. Now the big issue is because H2k is behind, they don't even win in the side lanes. Echo is getting smashed by Lissandra. Understandable because Echo is itemized for the Poppy matchup, but if they have tempo of the game, pressure of the game after that fight in middle, then they can just set up the correct lane matchups for themselves and just play out their game. Especially with this time frame where the Echo had no TP, it was very, very easy for them to just group up, engage wherever they want, gang the Echo. Echo, of course, needs to try to push out. Kassadin needs to try to push out, because otherwise they're just going to slowly die in this game. We move on. I don't know if you guys hear these random buzzing sounds. I'm thinking it might be OBS, which I'm recording with. But for now, I think OG should be able to take this home. H2k's only kind of hope is that they get the Kassadin. They also had like this wonderful lane swap going for them where they had turret advantages. And they just needed to play the slow game, not force anything. Forgiven was dodging the Bard ultimates in mid. It was looking good. We move on. I'm going to speed this up a bit. I'm just going to... I think we'll notice if OG screw up big time, yeah? But so far, so good. Nothing has happened. H2k want a slow game at this point. Abyssal finished on Kassadin as well. He should be doing fine into the Lissandra matchup right now. Echo's itemizing MR as well. She'll also be doing fine into the Lissandra eventually. But something that is also worrying, we mentioned earlier that there's 3 magic damage dealers on H2k. It's not like Graves with no items is gonna all of a sudden, bang bang, shoot everyone up. And something that AD champions in the jungle love doing is buying more of Malmortius, which we see Kindred is itemizing towards, and we see Graves also itemizing towards more of Malmortius, even though there's only 1 AP damage dealer on the enemy team, which is the Sandra. That's how much AD champions love more of Malmortius. We loved it so much it even got nerfed in 6.7. Understandable, because this item was absurd. More of Malmortius finished, Abyssal finished. Very, very strong items against his full AP composition. I like to call it full AP. I don't care about Graves too much, man. It's full AP. Come on. We move on. H2k is grouping. I'm not too sure why. I think they should still explore their side lanes. They should try to play their matchups in the side lanes and hope for the best. I think it's too early for them to group. Kassadin needs 16. Corki needs IE. They need some positive things going on for them. As long as they can maintain control over the jungle, they don't lose Baron, I think they're in a fine position, because OG right now, they're not doing a good job of denying them the complete jungle. Like, why is Graves allowed to get the red buff right here? They should be able to take control of the full jungle, because right now in the rewarding, there is a couple of holes. Bard is coming out of base, so maybe that's the case, but still, I think they should be able to have full control of their jungle, regardless if Bard is in base or not. Let's see if Kassadin gets blue. I didn't see if Kassadin got blue. I'm assuming he did, because he's fapping around. Yeah. Alright. So, H2k are doing fine and surviving. I think OG could have pressured a bit more, made sure that H2k are stuck under the towers. But then again, it's not a big deal. H2k are not going to win because they got a red buff and blue buff. But still, it's something that you should just keep in mind. All of us can keep in mind. We can all learn. So at this point in time, I feel like OG, they are playing a correct game, as if they had a 1-4. If they had a 1-4, you just base with Papi, go bottom to the Kassadin, and it's fine. But they also have a 1-3-1. They can make use of the Lissandra TP. They don't need to be this afraid of going into the side lanes with their TPs. They should be able to accomplish more with them. Instead, they got Kindred split pushing, which seems to work out. Why not? Kindred is so fed. Amazing has been rather impressive on Kindred throughout the entire playoffs. Very, very far ahead. Okay. Kassadin is kind of tanky right now. Going into Hourglass. maybe he's going to reach that dream level 16, you know. Even though we say, you know, Kassadin's OPS 16, you know, you still need to keep in mind that there's a Mob Malmorti's Kindred that is fed to shit on the enemy team. And also the Poppy, like, who's gonna kill the Poppy, really? I don't see it happening, you know. But there's still a slight possibility. Kassadin 16 is still strong. But what I'm trying to say is Kassadin 16 is not gonna, you know, flip the table around all of a sudden. Okay. H2k going into the 1-3-1. I think it's important for OG to just keep denying the jungle. Keep denying the jungle because they've been doing a pretty decent job of it, besides those 2 buffs that they gave away. But because you can just see the advantage Kindred has over Graves. So the game has slowed down massively in favor of H2k, I would say. The Devourer Kindred does kill Nashor very, very fast. All of a sudden OG are playing their 1-3-1 game. Poppy pushed out top. I like this, but there's a ward in the bottom pit. Ooh. It's one of the ways that OG could actually lose it. Ooh, Power of Evil. Important Kindred ult. Oh my goodness. Well, I think that ward is the MVP. It's important that when you set up Nash that you make sure that the enemy team is going to be scared face checking every bush around here. But come on. You know, H2k got pink ward for days. I guess Ryan will show us a replay, man. Well, this is like, there's so much. You know, Kassadin's gonna reach 16. Corky's gonna get 3 items. You know, all of a sudden, this game could look very, very different. That's a massive gold swing as well. So, thinking about the situation, OG, there was a ward inside the Baron pit that wasn't cleared. You know, we saw this right here. And H2k, they weren't scared at all to just enter this area. You have a ward right here that has been up for half of its duration. This was just recently placed. There's a pink ward right here. There's a pink ward right here. There's no fear for H2k to enter this side of the jungle at all, because there's a ward right here. And they also had vision in their own kind of Baron area. It's very, very important, you know, let's say H2k were in a position, like, let's say red side was in a position of advantage, right? You want to deny this side of the vision. I'm going to move my webcam a little bit. I just realized it's blocking a bit. You know, this is not good. I'm just going to move myself up there, yeah? So the thing is, if you are red side and you want to take control of a Nash of vision is important, but this is what's really important. This little triangle that I want to paint out right here. You see my mouse? Yeah, my mouse pointer. You see it. And for blue side, it's the same, but this side of the jungle. You know, you want to make sure they are afraid of face shaking every bush. Make them waste a lot of time. But in reality, I could talk about this forever, but the big issue was this little bugger right here, man. Big issue. Because, you know, forcing Nash at this point makes sense. You know, it's 27 minutes into the game, it makes sense. But you need to deny the vision of the enemy team, because otherwise you're going to get Kassadin. And this helps the Graves a bit that was behind, helps him tremendously. And Kassadin's going to slowly reach 16. He's going to buy his 4th item, hopefully a Void Staff, and he's going to do work. Good luck with that, by the way. It's a Abyssal Kassadin with Hourglass. This feels a bit desperate from OG. They should be looking to collapse on their mid, not on their side lanes. Because the side lanes, Kassadin is just too strong right now. And he doesn't have TP, so I think they should look to collapse on the mid lane, the Koki with no Quicksilver Sash, and try to do work from there. But all of a sudden, this game is completely wide open. Completely wide open. The gold differential doesn't matter anymore. H2k got a bunch of levels from the 2 kills. Graves managed to catch up a little bit. The game is completely wide open, and all of a sudden we've reached the point where Kassadin is just a monster. Surprising as well to see the hourglass come out from Lissandra. I think it's a fine item, but I think the armor stat is very inefficient. I don't think you notice too much from the itemization of OG that the enemy team has triple AP damage dealers, you know? Sure, you could say Graves, but still. Got the more Malmortis coming out. Pollution as well. I think it's pretty clever to buy it. Okay, Power View ult himself, almost no damage. Hourglass. Rio Hourglass as well. Okay. Okay. Holy shit, amazing. It's so fed. I'm trying to just sink in as much as possible. Kassadin with the TP. Does he have Home Guard? Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. I got to take in a lot. I just want to watch the replay at a slower pace. Right? Let's just slow this down a bit. You know, I don't want to shoutcast it. You know, what's the point of shoutcasting it? You can just turn on these people if you want to listen to some shoutcasting. Let's analyze this for a second. Oh, wrong button. So a big issue, you know, the first thing that comes to mind right here is the fact that Lissandra ult is so unimpactful. She gets brown ulted, she gets kind of screwed over, which is pretty bad. Actually, we should just watch the replay. Sorry. We move on. We watch the replay. Show me the replay right, games. Okay, we back. So right here, Power Evo, you know, you see the Echo Field and the Bromo Ultimate. This is just game winning right here, because Kindred needs to use her ult. You have Corki without Quicksilver Sash that doesn't get ulted by Lissandra. And all of a sudden, you know, the impact of the Lissandra ult is very, very small. You know, what did it do? It just, you know, it's had the effect of an ice cube on Echo, you know, it just nothing. Very, very poor started fight because they tried to commit on a Braum, which was no good. And Lissandra's impact in the fight was just minimal. Very smart move from H2k as well to just, like Ryu just backed off and TP back in. I still think that OG could have disengaged that fight if they really wanted to. And Kindred just overcommit. Like Kindred that was so strong. Like I was talking about how powerful she was when she was jumping in. She just got smacked, which was no good. Well, kind of easy Nash for H2k. Didn't lose any key members. Afterwards, the H2k TP from Ryu was just, it just won them the Baron. I hope he buys voice F now. Quicksilver Sash on Corki. All of a sudden, you know, Lissandra, you know, she falls off kind of hard. I still think she's a great champion, but she falls off very, very hard because Quicksilver Sash is so good against her. And eventually her DPS and her damage output is not going to be enough because her scalings are not like, wow, Lissandra late game. You know, it's not like that. So reaching this point with Kassadin and the composition of H2k is kind of scary, you know. OG, this game shouldn't have been this long. The Baron was a massive problem. And I think H2k were just waiting for a moment. But H2k's early game, massive slip-ups. They were too impatient. Very, very impatient. We move on. Baron, Baron with 131 is a dream. It's a dream. Baron up minions on 3 waves. Sure, there's no TP on the Kassadin, but I'm pretty sure he can lane against anyone anyway at this point, especially if he gets voice staff. I think he can deal with the Poppy pretty easy. Because the Poppy W doesn't do anything against Kassadin, because it's a flash or a teleport, it's not a dash. We also saw the strength of Echo in the previous fight that they won that secured them the Nash. Sometimes you just get magnificent Ws that win you the game, and the combination of Brawl mode with the W was insane. But my point still stands regarding Poppy, that her consistency is just flat out better than Echo in 6.6. That's just the way I feel about it. I'm sure there's people that disagree with me, especially after Korea, when people were like KT and blah blah, they were like, oh, Echo is the best pick in the game, Echo has 58% win ratio in solo queue. Okay, in 6.7 I agree with you, but not in 6.6. We move on. Kassadin got TP up soon. He got the Lucidity boost. The cooldown is insanely low. So what can OG do from this position? Kassadin has reached a point where he is macho man, but what can he do from this point? Well, I think the only thing they can do is just try to look for an engage. Kindred is still very, very strong, as we mentioned earlier. Lucian is very, very strong as well. It's just that it's going to be a bit harder. There's double mob Malmortius. It still can happen, but it needs to be a very, very clean engage. Everyone needs to be on point. You can't just chase after them. It needs to be clean. They need to take control over the mid wave. Because the problem is, if they don't take control of the mid wave and they're losing the side lanes, it's going to be very, very problematic. But then again, they've been under Nash pressure as well, so it's understandable. No big losses during this Nash. So pretty good play from OG. So it's very, very important that OG take control over mid wave. They cannot give it up. Cannot give it up, because they're losing on both side lanes. If they're getting pushed in on 3 lanes at once, they're gonna have a very, very bad time. Very important that Bard shows up in mid. They contest the mid wave with 3. Look for engages. Try to place those wards. They need to try to contest the mid wave. Very, very important. Get vision now that Alessandro can TP2, Poppy can TP2. Make use of her flanks. Make sure to shut down Corki early in the fight, and all of a sudden you can make something happen. But if you do not get the flanks and you try to chase after them and you give up mid wave, then you're gonna have a really shitty time, for sure. So OG got mid priority, good. They can finally place the vision that they need. Bard is in position. He has 4 wards in his item. They should definitely try to get some deep vision together here right now to be able to pressure the mid wave even more and even further with the side lanes that they have. That's a good ward right there. OG contesting mid wave, just what I want to see. Good. H2k on the other hand, I still want to see them split push. I want them to split push at all times. In this case, if OG is invading top side, okay, then you position better for the mid lane with Braum, Corki Graves. You take the next wave, you push bottom side, so you make sure you have 2 pushing lanes. To simplify it rather easily, is that when you have 2 pushing lanes, you're going to be in a winning position. That's just the case. If you have 2 pushing lanes, that is the goal almost with any 1-4, 1-3-1. The goal is to have 2 pushing lanes, because if you're pushing 2 lanes, you're in a winning position. In this case, OG did a better job of contesting the mid wave, so they are in a winning position. We move on. Lich main final item for Kassadin. I'm thinking Death Cap would possibly be better. But also, I think Lich Bane, the CDR makes sense, right? The CDR makes a lot of sense. I'm assuming he's gonna be capped if he takes blue buff. We can't really check it. Right now, at least. It's pretty certain that Baron is going to be the deciding factor. I think the fact that Lissandra has no voice staff at this point in time is a big weakness. It shouldn't be a big deal. OG clearly have a better control of the map right now. But the way we reset here with Kindred is very, very bad. Very, very bad. Very, very naughty. So the thing is, I mentioned earlier that if you have two pushing lanes, you're in a winning position, right? In this case, you don't base if you don't have two pushing lanes unless you want to give up all your pressure. In this case, Kindred is starting to base home. She lost a lot of HP. Maybe that was a mistake to begin with, but let's just take it as a learning moment for how to contest the mid-wave. In this case, the mid-wave is just appearing. We can see it moving right here, right on top of this beautiful ward. You do not want to base in this case because the mid-wave pressure is very, very important. Sure, you could say, oh, I'm afraid of Corki package, but Corki package is one of those things that also falls off in the game. You don't see a Corki late in the game just, you just don't do that. That's why Corki's package goes down in value later in the game. Sure, you could argue that the initial mistake that Kindred did was to take a lot of damage, but usually you don't want to base in these moments because H2k all of a sudden they get this mid wave and they have pressure on the map. The top needs to back off. There's no big deal. Bottom is pushed in and all of a sudden you're fine. But in this case, I think H2k did a poor job of capitalizing on it. I think H2k definitely could have gone in deeper on the left side of the jungle and taken vision. Especially after they got the mid wave. Kassadin was grouping up mid. They should have taken control of Nash completely. But they didn't. We move on. This is going to be tense. This is going to end up being a full Nash fiesta. Love to see how many stacks Kindred has. Third Drake for H2k. Still a ward in the pit. Let's back up a bit. Who pushed out top? I think Lissandra did. No, it's just the banner of the Coco. I like it. This bard is getting bank. I actually like this itemization a lot, especially Banner of Coco. Banner of the Coco does super good against Kassadin, Corki, Echo. You're gonna have a shitty time clearing these Banner of Coco minions. And right now, they're getting top lane pressure for free, which is so important in this time of the game. They also have the bot wave slowly pushing out. I don't like the fact that Ryu is grouping up at this point in time. He needs to pressure bot side. He's such a strong split push at this point. He needs to make use of that because in a group scenario, they're not going to be able to contest the mid wave that well against almost what seems to be a full range composition from OG, besides the Poppy, of course. So with that in mind, I think Kassadin definitely should be split pushing. Definitely. 1-3-1, 1-3-1. OG, I think they can play a combination of 1-4, 1-3-1 if they're afraid of Kassadin, because they have so many ranged champions. But H2k, you gotta push side lanes with your Kassadin and make sure you got blue trinkets for that Baron. Very important. We move on. Echo made a slow push bottom. I think that is the correct call at this point in time. You don't want to be CS efficient, you want to be time efficient. If nobody, you have this clock of pressure that's going on bottom because you're slow pushing, which is better in this point in time. The CS doesn't matter, Echo doesn't need to be greedy for CS because him getting another wave is not going to have any impact on the game because he's level 80 and he's almost full items. So I like the decision of slow pushing the lanes. Very important, slow push the lanes because it gives you a more like a bigger time frame. Because look at Lissandra, she needs to be scared. She starts to hit the wave right here, very very late. There's the blue trinket. I don't think we need to panic just yet. Echo did teleport though, which is very beneficial for OG. But then again, the Kassadin can just split push, so it's fine. Very, very good patient play from OG. They didn't force the TP on Power of Evil. They knew they had composure. I liked it a lot. Very, very beneficial play. OG, if you look at their history, there's the Baron dancing, they are masters of the Baron tango, they are geniuses at it. They did a very good job at doing it at Worlds, we have these players that have had this history of backdooring and doing crazy nashes, etc. This is prime time OG time. And H2k, when they've been pushed to the brink, it's not the brightest of showings. A lot of people on full items. I'm thinking if they could have finished, actually, if they just committed earlier. I don't like the positioning of Lissandra as well. Like, Lissandra is, what's she doing here? What is she looking for? You have QSS on Koki. It's not the greatest situation. I think they should have just been in the pit, hit the Baron, because they do Baron so freaking fast. They kill it super fast with the Devour Kindred and Lucian on full items. I think they should have just stayed in the pit. They had the vision they needed, and if they want to, they can just claw over the Baron wall and go for the engage. You don't need to sit in the bush with Lissandra because your team is going to be too far away to follow up anyway if you catch people. I didn't like that play from Power of Evil. TPs, both gone. H2k though. So net positive for OG. I think it's still a positive play for them, but I think they could have gotten more in this situation. Very interesting game because you get to see heroes reach points that you have never seen them reach before. Like Kindred full items, Graves full items. Well, of course you've seen Graves full items because people play top lane all the time, but it's a very, very slow game. And usually you say that, Kassadin is going to be heavily favored in that against Lissandra, but right now it's a game of who's going to screw up first more than anything else. We move on. Not a lot of attention is being paid to the side lanes at all, but then again, H2k have no TPs. That's the advantage OG has. I think they should just play on the fact that they do have an advantage when it comes to the TPs. I think it's very important that they just push side lanes and just force Nash. Bam. No hesitation. Grouping up mid, pushing up mid, getting the vision that they need. Send your TPs to the side lanes and you're good. Longest game, alright. I need to take a sip for my beverage, man. I'm dying here. Banner of Command, MVP, really. Meti is a genius. It's just, you just can't clear it with Corki. It's impossible. It's, ooh. Very, very impatient from Origin. You look at the scenario, right? Nobody's showing up bottom. Nobody's showing up bottom for this wave that is so massive, caused by an earthquake of minions and Poppy pushing top, TP advantage, nobody's showing up. Then you have to respect in mid. You have to respect them in mid, because obviously they're committing 5 into mid. If there's no one showing up bottom, no one showing up top, then you have to kind of assume that they're going to pressure mid with 5. And with that in mind, sure, it's very, very simple to say from our perspective. We can talk shit about anyone from our perspective, but this is what League is about. Keeping composure throughout a long game. That is what League is about. Understanding the basics throughout the game. That is what League is about. Not making mistakes like these, because these happen. These happen all the time, but that is what separates teams from other teams, right? understanding the basics and keeping track of them at all times. So this is a massive, massive punish. Bard though is the most useless person you can kill on OG, but regardless, the rest of OG is in a horrible position as well. This is not just Bard. And Kassadin is, he loves the situations. But, in a perfect world, they would have gotten top inhib without the hassle of Bard dying. This is still a beneficial situation for OG. They had TP advantages from earlier, and they capitalized on it. Kassadin used Q, they cannot cancel it. Oh, that's so close, man. Holy moly, that's dirty. OG Power of Evil used TP now. Now the table's gonna turn, You got two open inhibs. But it's not gonna matter if H2k play it out correct, because they got two TPs right here, They got two TPs. So they can just push out the side lanes, group in mid as 5, get vision, you can play out the game in many different ways. H2k commit completely into this. No blue trinkets left. No crab. This goes down fast. This goes down really fast. Really good Poppy ultimate. Oof! Kassadin on the side. Oh, stun hits. What the fuck? Holy moly. Where was Soaz? Nah, Sven is alive. Sven can't die. Sven can't. Oh no! What are you doing? I'm thinking there's no way Sven dies. Corky's low. There's no way Sven dies. He's play patient and he just fucking EQs. Ease into the enemy team. Where's the replay? Rewind that tape. Rewind that tape for me, Riot Games. Give me a good bird's eye view replay, man. Rewind that tape. Holy moly. H2k. That was a miracle though. That was a fucking miracle. No, wait. What are you doing, Matthew, man? What's this? No. Don't get too fancy. Oh, H2k? What the? Oh, gee, you're so strong and composed. What are you doing now? Where's the replay, Riot? Oh, there we go. All right. So, no vision. No blue trinkets from OG. Power of Evil. Like, this Poppy ultimate was genius. Absolutely fucking beautiful. Beautiful. Really, really good. I should stop sweating. But beyond that point, where did Soaz go? Where did Soaz go here? Okay, he flashed through the wall, understandable. Very low HP. Okay. Now we see the issue. Everyone's so separated. I don't like the fact that we commit on the Kassadin right here. We commit on the Kassadin while we are fighting. These numbers are not good for OG. Soaz got chunked because he went into the pit earlier, but I don't like the fact that we are wasting so much time on the Kassadin here. But even then, even then from this point, even if I said I don't like it, even then from this point, this is a marvelous position for OG. It's like the damage of Echo. He cannot do anything to our dear friend Lucian right here, but the massive mistake here is coming up right here. Fuck, come on. We just go back to the original replay. I don't care. We go back to the original replay. Where you at? Where you at, man? It was right here. National Force, Steel, good Poppy ultimate, right here. We killed the Kassadin. Pretty good situation. Sven plays it out pretty good. Good Bard ultimate. Very good response from Braum here to shield up. Like it a lot. But right here, Sven is in such a good position. But all of a sudden, he eases into the smoke screen. That's what screws him up. He eases into the smoke screen. Because right now, the only thing that was important, the only person that had enough DPS to pull down the Lucian at that point was Corki. But Corki was lower HP than the Lucian, so you cannot trade hits with him. But he eats straight into the smoke screen, got critted by Graves, got critted by Corki, and he died. Very, very clutch. You know, the smoke screen was beautiful. Good play from everyone overall, you know, but the smoke screen really, really screwed Lucian up. I think he definitely would have killed the Koki if it wasn't for the smoke screen. And that would have been the entire game ending completely differently. Holy moly. Oh yeah, we've seen this. Yeah, we see the Bard ultimate. OG losing kind of composure. I think this is a waste of cooldowns, you know. Sure, maybe you can create something, you can beg forgiven, but I don't know, man. Kindred is all going for the flash play on Koki right here. Holy moly. Well, smoke screen made the difference. We can watch the replay again. I think there's so many good things in this fight. Poppy ultimate, beautiful, bam. Lissandra engaged, good. Was that a bad smite? I think it was a bad smite. From Graves, and Kindred just stole it. Really bad smite from Jankos. So I hear this is beautiful as well. Braum does a very, very nice E. This E is insane, man. But because it saves Forgiven, straight up saves him. Overall, very beautiful things. Bard was also on point. OG though, we need to remember that they did get the Nash. They have it on one person. At this point in time, one person it's good enough. There shouldn't be a massive change in items at all at this point either. I think the fact that there's no Last Whisper on Lucian goes to show how useless this item actually is. Please, Riot, make Last Whisper great again so we can actually kill tanks. But this Baron is making a massive difference, especially Banner of Command. It makes it way easier to contest the mid-wave, and eventually the Baron's gonna run off, which is now. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. It's over. I didn't even get to see what happened. I'm just gonna back up, you know, because this is not gonna be a replay. You know, it's doomed. It's over. Okay, so let's look at the issue here. Sven gets hit by Winter's Bites or whatever, Winter's Christmas tree, the Braum. So let's take a look at, we got Bard over here, we got Kindred over here. So people just, they want to walk away already. I think someone is calling for a rotation into top, which makes sense. You know, I like the rotation into top right here because it's a big wave. You force H2k to deal with this wave, and then you rotate into top. They're going to have a slow rotation, and you slowly chip down on these inhibitors, right? But it seems like we have a mixed call right here. Sven, bam, gets hit by the Q. Is forced to walk in a very, very awkward pathway. This, you know, when the enemy team is defending right here, you don't want to walk through this pathway. This is really bad. You need to walk through here. Or, you know, if you just brute force the wave into the tower, then you can walk through here because you will have information. You will have full information. But the melee creeps died. The melee creeps died, which is very, very important for the vision around this area. They lost the vision. Lucian tried to walk in a very, very bad pathway, got punished because he got hit by the wrong Q, and eventually, I'm assuming they lost the game off of this because otherwise it would be insane. It's just an impossible position to lose from, and all of a sudden, Power V was also dead with everything up. I don't even know what happened to him. Let me see. Oh yeah, he just fucking disappeared. Boom. All right, he just got RKO'd by Kassadin. You know, sick. All right, this should be game. It should be game. I'm sorry guys, but this is just the way it is. Unless Soaz, there's nothing Soaz can do. What am I saying, man? This is a Lichbang Kassadin, full item Corki. Well, very interesting game. Very, very long one. this has to be very discouraging for OG. Because based off of this game, you can't imagine, like, if you can't win this game, like, how can you imagine winning any other game against H2k? H2k had a better lane swap. OG punished the impatience of H2k very, very well. But that one ward at Baron was very, very important. And that smoke screen screwed Lucian over so hard. It's almost depressing. With that in mind, I still think H2k could have drafted better. I think they could have drafted way better, because I still think there's a lot of risk with Kassadin. Kassadin, sure, he's macho, late game, boom, one-shotted power of evil, macho. But to reach that point, you need to survive so much shit. You need to go through so much stuff. So it's almost, it's almost impossible. Very, very hard. But H2k managed to do the impossible. That Baron ward was a saving grace. The smokescreen as well. I'm sorry, I'm just in shock. It's quite comedic, it's comedy. But I guess the clip has been very, very long so far. I'm actually impressed if you stuck the entire way through. I'm just warming up again. I think I'm gonna do more of these. I got some massive plans for the upcoming weeks during the off season, but you'll hear from me. You'll hear from me more soon, because like at this point, I'm very tired of playing the game. Solo queue or dynamic queue is very, very boring for me. I don't think it's a pleasant experience, so I'm just gonna analyze shit. Bam. All right. So, Papa bless. Take it easy. Vape Nash. For my boy H3. Take it easy, huh? Go green.